All right, what's going on, guys? Hope you're all having a good day. So first things first, I want to give a thank you to EA for sponsoring this video, and in this one, we are going to be going over the top 5 best guns to use in Apex Legends Legacy. Alongside this update comes a ton of new content. First of all, Arenas, which is a permanent brand new mode that is a 3v3 combat system on essentially custom maps. It really condenses down what is fun about Apex Legends and brings the gameplay loop really tight. Not only that, but a new legend called Valkyrie is also being added to the game alongside this update, and a new weapon called the bow check, which is pretty interesting. But after spending some time playing the Olympus map and then also the new Arenas mode, I've made a list of the top 5 best guns to utilize whether you're playing BR or in Arenas mode, and I hope you guys find this video enjoyable. If you do, be sure to give it a like rating, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and without further ado, let's get into it. So coming today at the number 5 spot is the Wingman. Now, I found this weapon particularly good in arena modes, and I think that's for a few reasons. Namely, the fact that you really only have to focus your fire in generally one direction because you have a lot fewer enemies to deal with, and you don't need to worry about getting third-partied or anything like that, so you can really hone in on one particular target. It really feels like the Wingman allows you to kind of control the pace of the game. You can keep your enemies pinned while your other teammates go and make a play and force them to make mistakes, something like that. Because the Wingman deals 90 damage per headshot, if you can land these, not only will your enemy just be pinned down, but they're going to be burning a lot of time and resources healing up. Because you spawn in an arena with limited amounts of resources that you have to, spend your money on, then if you can just bleed them dry as far as healing items, then you have a significantly higher chance of winning the game. Of course, you can add attachments and upgrade the Wingman, giving it, hollow sights or whatever you like, but I always usually prefer the defaults, and I think a lot of other people do too, but feel free to experiment with different sights and which ones work for you the best. One of the weaknesses, however, is of course the Wingman doesn't have the biggest ammo capacity, and that can be mitigated to some degree as you upgrade it, but it's not really necessary in arena mode, as again, you're not really dealing with tons of amounts of enemies at any given time, usually just one-on-one or maybe two-on-one gunfights. Reload time is also fairly fast, so you don't need to worry about really getting caught out and not having ammo. It's not like an LMG in that regard. You could definitely debate its usefulness in the BR mode and, whether this is good to use at a range or not or against multiple teams, but at least as far as arena mode is concerned, it is absolutely great. Moving on though, coming in today at the number 4 spot is one of my personal favorite guns in the game, the R99 SMG. So arguably the most distinguishable feature about this weapon is of course the unbelievable fire rate. It is just a straight up bullet hose. And I would say in arena, using the R99 is both a curse and a blessing because of those factors. And anything close to medium range engagements within arena or even just in BR, the R99 is absolutely going to shine, but anything beyond, a relative medium range, it's completely pitiful. With proper usage, the R99 can beat out shotguns in some close range scenarios and can even hold up with some of the ARs if you've got a steady enough hand. Now, opposed to the Wingman, which we just talked about, the R99 benefits greatly from every single attachment, where I feel like the Wingman is just generally cosmetic stuff, not always, but changing the sight kind of comes down to like a personal preference thing, but literally every single attachment, whether it's the barrel stabilizer or the stock on the R99, greatly benefits not only its recoil control, but just the general handling overall, and it becomes more like a cross SMG hybrid AR when it is fully upgraded. Interestingly, this is one of those weapons that, if possible, you don't want to completely drain the magazine before reloading, as if you reload from empty, it's almost a full second longer for the reload. While I do think it's an amazing weapon in most circumstances, I really feel like the R99 shines best when your teammates are able to sort of, make gaps in the enemy's defense, and that allows you to get in a lot closer, because if they're just walling you out from a long range, then the R99 is pretty much useless. Of course, this is where your teammates come into play, but also your just individuals' legends abilities. You can also use this to maybe break their defenses too, and the fact that there is such a fast DPS makes that the enemy has to respect that weapon, and if they know you're closing in on them, likely they're going to reposition or just back away from that gunfight entirely, but that doesn't mean you still can't pursue them. Also, just a super fun gun to use as well, so I had to put this at the number 4 spot. Anyways, moving on, and coming in at number 3 is our first actual rifle on this list. This is going to be the VK47 Flatline. Now, I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I really feel like the Flatline is one of the more consistent weapons in the game, and I think is almost primarily cut out for playing this arena mode. I feel like the base variant of this weapon is still quite good. The R99, which we just talked about, its base variant is fine, but it certainly has its weaknesses, and I'm not saying that the Flatline doesn't either, but I feel like it's one of those guns that you can really capitalize on its strong suit, which is the fact that it's unbelievable unbelievable DPS, especially if you're landing headshots. Now, that is easier said than done, especially with a slower firing weapon like this. It has a fair amount of kick, but you know, that gets mitigated as you upgrade it. But in these one-on-one engagements that you're likely to run into within the arena mode, I feel like the Flatline can pretty much handle itself at almost any range, except for like extremely up close, you know, which it really isn't cut out for, but it still can do. It's got a special property, which isn't the case for all weapons, where headshots are literally double damage as opposed to body shots. Some of the weapons in the game have a multiplier of like maybe 1 point something, but very few in the game are actually double damage for headshots, but the Flatline is one of them. So if you're one of those kinds of players that can land those consistently, then I think you're going to like this one a lot. I feel like a lot of the heavy ammo weapons in the game are very hit or miss for me. I'm either going to really like them or kind of hate them. I'm not a big fan of the heavy ammo LMGs, to be honest, but I do like the Wingman, and I do very much like the Flatline. By no means is this a specialized weapon like a sniper rifle or really any other special weapon in the game, but what it does have is consistency. That's why I think it deserves the number 3 spot. Coming today at the number 2 spot, however, is a weapon that really surprised me, and I haven't played with this until recently. This is the Volt SMG. Now, this uses energy ammo, and on paper, I didn't think I would even really be attracted to this weapon at all. However, it's got some really unique properties that I think serve it well, not only in arena, but also in the BR mode. It definitely does not boast the highest DPS. It's not like an R99 that absolutely shreds in close range. However, one difference is there is no damage drop off as far as I can tell, meaning you'll be outputting the exact same amount of damage whether you're within 5 meters of somebody or 50 meters. And of course, it's not ideal, but those shots are realistic because the Volt really has no recoil at all. It's extremely steady. It is an absolute laser beam, and I'm a way bigger fan of this weapon than I previously suspected I would. I would say the key to this weapon is taking your enemies by surprise, because again, you're really just not going to straight out DPS them in most cases, but it is absolutely capable of just nailing people from a distance and being consistent as well. So I'm a pretty massive fan of this gun, and I didn't think I would be, but I absolutely had to put it at the number 2 spot. Now, before we unveil number 1, I would like to give an honorable mention to the Mastiff. Now, I started using this weapon in the arena mode alongside the Peacekeeper, and I gotta be honest, I feel like the Mastiff is just pretty much better right now in every scenario. The Peacekeeper may be a little bit easier to use, but I think the Mastiff has overall better potential. If you can bait your opponent into challenging you, maybe positioning badly, or making a mistake, the Mastiff will absolutely punish that all day. Personally, I don't think shotguns are maybe the best choice overall for arena mode, but they're definitely not bad to have, at least as a secondary. So feel free to experiment and see what shotgun you prefer the most, both in BR or arena. But finally, coming today at the number 1 spot, the overall best gun in Apex Legends right now, whether for arena mode or BR, in my opinion, has got to be the R301. This was my favorite gun when the game first released, and I would say even to this day probably still holds that crown. While the damage per bullet isn't on par with something like the Flatline, it beats it in almost every other category. Its consistency over range, its fire rate, and even its up-close capability, it's pretty much like an SMG in that regard, and can even be handled at an extremely long distance. There's a reason this gun cannot be purchased round 1 of arena mode, and is easily one of the most sought after weapons in typical BR. Again, while the R301 may lack some of these specialized abilities and mechanics that something like maybe the bow check has, or even some of the snipers, if you've got competent players pretty much all running these maybe alongside other stuff, then you should have no problem stealing games away. And on a personal note for me, this is one of the most satisfying weapons to use in Apex Legends, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. I know a lot of people like the Hemlock Burst AR, and I'm a pretty big fan of that one too, but I just think the overall access and ease of use that the R301 has maybe will beat the Hemlock in that regard. But that's certainly why I had to put it up at the number 1 spot. So anyways, guys, that is going to be my list of the top 5 best weapons in Apex Legends right now. If you guys want to go check out Apex Legends Legacy, then use the link in the description, go check it out and go download it right now. All of the new content, the arena mode, the new legend called Valkyrie, and then also the bow check weapon will all be arriving on the game on May 4th. So be sure to check it out using the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next stream or the next video. Take it easy. I gotta go, and peace out.